So in wrestling, there's really like three fundamental archetypes of style. And obviously everyone has their own unique personal style, but there's three fundamental archetypes of style. The first one, which is very prevalent in American high school and collegiate wrestling, is an outfighter style where I keep very loose ties. So you think of John Smith, Jordan Burroughs, people who are explosive and they can attack from space. You know, a lot of it is I'm shooting, I get this low single, or I'm finding a double leg from space, and that's a valid style. It just requires a lot of movement, a lot of footwork, and a lot of explosive athleticism, which in jiu-jitsu for older hobbyists might not be the most efficient style, especially if we're not wearing boots. We're not wearing wrestling boots, because the boots give us more traction against the ground. The second style is kind of a scrambling counter style. Think of Ben Askren, people like that, where there's a lot of mobility put into it. There's a lot of flexibility, and we want to be able to scramble. You know, mobility is a very important part of jiu-jitsu as well. But for your older, maybe less athletic athletes, that might not be a good primary style. So what kind of style can we take as an older, less athletic grappler who wants to still be able to be successful? We can become a pressure wrestler, right? A pressure wrestler where I'm stalking my opponent down. I'm trying to get close range to them. So just like in jiu-jitsu, we can have a heavy outside passing, toreando, leg drag, outside movement style. You can also have a pressure passing style. That pressure passing style is a lot more weight, small angle, wiggle in, crush. Yeah, your classic stereotype of a high calorie 40-year-old bald brown belt who plays deep half, right? They do that because that connectedness allows them to be successful. So what we're gonna do is, here's how we do deep half for wrestling and in a standing position. And it all starts with solid forward pressure and defensive soundness and understanding our frames. So when we're wrestling, the primary frames, turn to face the camera, the primary frames are the head and the arms, right? In, you know, generic, like you're always gonna hear head, hands, hips, right? But if we, as much as possible, we wanna just be head and arms. That means we gotta be able to frame with our hands, with our forearms, with our shoulders, and with our head. So we wanna be able to use all of these frames to get into closer ranges. Because generally speaking, if I wanna be kind of like a lazy wrestler and I'm just looking to get advantage in the standing position, I wanna be defensively sound and be taking pretty low risk stuff, right? Like all I gotta do to force him to pull guard a lot of the time is pressure him and make him feel like he can't attack me. Make him feel like he can't get anything going, and likely they pull guard and I can start working my passing.
Now obviously against better opponents, that will be more difficult. However, if I have defensive soundness and it's very difficult to directly attack me, and I put myself in a position where it's easy or easier to pressure the other opponent, it will make it such that I don't need to worry about defense as much actively. I want my defense to be inherent in my position while I'm attacking.
Mm-hmm. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about some spots on his body that we can frame on. Okay, the body can be thought of like when we're framing, what we want to be doing is controlling his movement, right? Again, in order to be able to push him backwards, right? In order to be able to push him backwards, I've got to be able to get frames on his body that don't allow him to come forward and force him backwards, right? So when we're controlling his movement, the two primary movements you want to control are his ability to aggress forward into our space and his ability to rotate, his ability to turn, to rotate along this transverse plane, okay? We want to control his other forms of rotation and movement as well, but these are the primary two that we're concerned with, right? If I can hold both sides of his body so he can't rotate and he can't aggress into my space, I can push him around, I can make him create reactions that allow me pretty easy access to safe attacks. So when I'm framing on the body, okay, it's facilitative to think about him as 6 parts. His head, his arms, his legs, and then the body. And when we talk about the body, I say the word the body, I'm referring to the torso right here.
So you can think of it almost as if there's a little box, arm, leg, head.
And these extremities give me leverage to the body, right? We're trying to rotate the body, put it on the ground. So on the body, important points to note is that you have this square surface of the body. His chest, his abdominals here, and then they cut along the obliques. So chest, front, like these front rib areas, and this front abs. And then along the sides, there's obliques. You know, and then he's got his side, actual side, the back cut obliques, and then his back square. And so what I want to do is I want to frame on the parts where that oblique meets the square. So instead of thinking of it like a hard, like actually like a box with hard right angles, it's more like a stop sign or an octagon where there's a front box, then there's a cut, then there's a cut, then there's a side box, there's another cut in the back, then there's a back box. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna frame, like say we're more upright position. I know a lot of jiu-jitsu players will kind of approach you in this upright position. So I'll take that upright position, Phil. Is I wanna get to his ribs. I wanna frame on his ribs, or I'm gonna frame where his shoulders meet his pecs, here. And that gives me, with my hands, a lot of rotational control. I can also do that with my hand. Here I'm framing with my forearm. So I'm finding various ways to frame. See, this elbow frame is along his shoulder, and I can hook the collar. So I'm finding ways to frame on those spots. Okay, I'm finding ways to frame on those spots. So in order to work on this framing versus clearing frames, we're gonna play a game. And the first game that we're gonna play here is called Poopy Hands. Okay? Just because this is how we do it with our kids, but it helps to think about my hands as being covered with something filthy.